Welcome to Off-Grid News, the news that is not fit to print. First it was Christmas, then it was New Year's. Now it's cruise ships. In a third attempt to ban fun and relaxation, the CDC warns not to travel on cruise ships after 5,000 people got the sniffles. CDC says not to travel on cruise ships regardless of vaccine status, because if you're out there having fun, then you might start having independent thoughts, said one official. The entire state of California agreed. Even though the military is not mandating boosters vaccines, the FDA is planning on broadening booster eligibility to include 12 to 15-year-olds, as well as reduce the intervals between boosters to 5 months, down from 6 months. Pfizer announced they were elated to hear the news as the stock prices jump. Our goal is to get the FDA to approve an IV form of the vaccine so patients can have a continuous flow of the vaccine. Unemployment claims dropped to 198,000 as a result of the people ages 25 to 35 moving into parents' basements, eating Doritos and playing video games. The January 6th committee, formed 6 months ago, here is what it uncovered so far. Democrat Congressman Adam Schiff falsified Congressman Jim Jordan's text messages to Trump's White House chief of staff. A bunch of people who have been arrested illegally entering the Capitol, just as the media showed on January 6th. A bunch of people texted each other during the protest. And finally, Democrats are very angry. Biden asked the Supreme Court to end the stay in Mexico policy. Papers show the policy needs to end because Florida and Texas has not turned from red to blue. January 6th committee chairman seeks to question House GOP. The committee spokesperson said, "This witch hunt will go a lot better if we remove GOP from the panel. The only way to do that is to charge them as conspirators." Despite Biden's dire warning that the only thing Americans have to look forward to is death and disease this winter, no one has died and hospitalization rates remain low. When asked, Biden said, "What I mean by death and disease is sniffles and coughs." He continued by saying, "Wow, Trump was right. The media really over-exaggerates things." In an effort to reduce government spending, more than 200 Marines were separated for refusing the vaccine. After Senator Rand Paul released his government wasteful spending report that identifies spending money to give children junk food, the Marines discharged 200 men and women for refusing the vaccine. White House spokesperson pointed out that all those Marines enlisted during the Trump administration, and it's taken us some time to cut his excess spending. $4 million worth of heroin seized by the U.S. Navy in the Arabian Sea. The heroin was handed over to South America countries for disposal. In other news, an increase in heroin crossing the southern border increased by $4 million. Dr. Fauci is calling on people to get boosted, even if you're considered fully vaccinated, to be protected against the sniffles variant. While Bill Gates is in the background smiling and shaking his head yes. To further end fun in the U.S., the Westminster Kennel Club postpones dog show because of the sniffles variant. One spokesperson said, "Dogs are people too. Ruff, ruff, ruff." Biden's first year in office is plagued by broken promises on the virus. The latest comes when he promised death and disease this holiday season, but no one died from the Omicron, and hospitals are not seeing an increase. South Africa found 2 doses of the J&J offer more protection than the other vaccines. A spokesperson said J&J is banned in the U.S. because it doesn't benefit Bill Gates. Dr. Fauci turned to Bill Gates and said, "Yes, master, I'll take care of that." A very strange symptom of the Omicron variant has emerged. Along with other symptoms that include sniffles, pesky cough, and headache, people are experiencing night sweats. Turns out that when you're diagnosed with Omicron, you start having nightmares of Dr. Fauci say, "Do not attend holiday events." FDA is investigating an outbreak of E. coli. The only information is the patient count, which stands at 11. No on-site inspections have been started yet. No word what states have been affected. CDC has not identified the source. In a statement, the FDA said, "We are too busy with the sniffle virus. We don't have time to investigate serious outbreaks." Then said, if the unvaccinated would get vaccinated, we might be able to get caught up on other cases that are actually killing people, like this E. coli case. New York is set to ban wood stoves after a bill called, get this, the New York State's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. Take your breath away. Was signed. This law aims to end damage to the environment that is caused by wood stoves. It also bans gas hookups in new buildings, requiring them to be all electric, reducing the burning of fossil fuels. One Missouri resident, while sitting by his wood stove, said, "Yeah, Missouri needs to plant one of those magic jelly bean fields that make all that electric like they have in New York City." Snopes fact-checked his statement and determined it was false. There's no evidence that New York grows magic jelly bean fields to produce electric. YouTube star Mark Dice got thousands of people to sign a petition to grow magic jelly bean fields to produce electric in California. Breaking news, the Missouri resident that said Missouri needs those magic jelly bean fields has been fired from his job after the Twitter mob kept calling his workplace and calling him a liar. The IRS has launched an investigation into his taxes and found discrepancies. Homeland Security has put him on the no-fly list as a domestic terrorist and Trump supporter. CNN held an hour-long roundtable discussing how his hatred of the left is a sign of his white privilege. When asked if he regrets his comment, he said, "Regretted? I don't even remember saying it. My wood stove had me so relaxed I was half asleep." He was immediately arrested for operating a wood stove while intoxicated. After searching his home, it was discovered he had an arsenal of firearms, high-powered hunting rifle, a shotgun he claims that he hunt with, a high-powered .22 caliber weapon of war he claims he used to hunt rabbits. The Attorney General said, "Our agents did an excellent job getting this guy. He was a serious threat to our American democracy." Outbreak of drug-resistant superbug under investigation in the U.S. An outbreak of the Candida auroris hit Oregon with 3 cases. The infection was first identified in 2009 in Asia. It only took them 13 years to get this one to us. In a statement, Big Pharma CEO said, "We are currently working on a vaccine. FDA is given an emergency warp speed 2.0 approval on whatever they come up with." VP Harris answered tough questions about inflation on Face the Nation. Harris said, "Sugar-added chewing gum has been identified as a source of spread in another superbug, Clausius trididium difficile." CDC said in a statement, "This just proves having fun with something as simple as gum is dangerous to your health." IRS puts out a reminder to thieves and drug dealers that they must report stolen items and income from illegal drugs on their taxes, because as you know, criminals follow law. One IRS agent said, "Yeah, remember Al Capone? He was convicted on tax evasion." U.S. blocking tomato shipments from Mexican farms, leaving many to wonder if they could use the same method to block people from Mexico. Studies suggest why Omicron is less severe. The study shows Omicron does not attack the lungs, leaving many to scratch their heads and question the science that said the only way to reduce symptoms is to get vaccinated. One Texan said, "Hey, wait one gosh darn minute. Someone's lying." Putin and Biden met regarding dispute over Ukraine. Talks ended early when Putin pointed at his finger at Biden. Biden raised his hands and surrendered and said, "Come on, man. I was just kidding you. You win." 2 people died when they tried to stop a commuter train with their Toyota. Turns out when you ignore railroad crossings gates, railroad flashing lights, and bells, you die from stupidity, said one spokesperson. A tiger was shot when it attacked a zookeeper. The man stuck his hand inside the cage and was surprised to learn that tigers eat fleshy, meaty things. The man's lawyer said, "This is unacceptable. The zoo needs to pay for having these obviously dangerous animals." Despite the dozens of signs stating "do not put your hands in the cage" and the dozens of barriers, when asked, the man said, "I just wanted to pet it. Why is that such a crime?" U.S. Postal Service shows much better service this year. Post Office spokesperson said, "We've improved our services this year because we weren't busy getting Trump out of office." Biden and Joe Manchin, West Virginia senator, sat down to discuss the Build Back Better plan that the senator voted against last month. The meeting ended early when the senator pointed his finger at the president, and the president raised his hands and surrendered and said, "Come on, man, I was just kidding." Florida Democrat blasts missing in action Governor Ron DeSantis as the sniffle virus surges through the state. Germany is shutting down 3 nuclear power plants and a shift to renewables, because when you have safe, clean, and cheap power, you have to destroy it. Biden defends his vaccine mandate policy to the Supreme Court. He told the 9 justices, "Look, man, the people elected me as God. The Constitution said God-given rights. Therefore, I have the right to do whatever I want to my little creations." Bank accidentally deposited $176 million into people's accounts on Christmas Day. Not mine. I checked. Really, it wasn't there. IKEA increases prices by 50%, citing rising supply chain costs. Biden responded by saying, "So, who uses IKEA?" Michigan University took its next step in banning speech by listing the top words or phrases not allowed on campus. Topping the list was a two-word phrase, "Wait, what?" Wait, what? Scientists say Omicron is spreading at lightning speed and are trying to figure out why, leaving many to wonder which scientists are working on this problem, because lightning travels at 278,000 miles per hour. The Earth is only 7,900 miles around. It's taken weeks for Omicron to travel around once. Maybe we should get new scientists that understand math. In other news, college no longer teaches math. California bans lawnmowers, leaving one resident wondering if she has to pay fines for not cutting her grass. When asked, one lawmaker says, "Don't ask stupid questions." U.S. and Russia face deep differences about Ukraine talks. Putin said to Biden, "Don't support Ukraine's efforts." Biden said, okay. Do you struggle keeping warm in the winter? A sewage spill closes South Los Angeles County beaches. When asked, a man going to the bathroom on the sidewalk said, "This area is really going to the crappers." Biden extended U.S. support for an international space station throughout 2030. Biden said, "Since we have no spacecraft to get our boys down from there, I have no choice but to spend the money on it." I don't think they want to jump down, do they? China threw a temper tantrum when Walmart removed several items from its app made by China to meet a new U.S. law that forbids products being sold by American companies that is made by China's slave labor. Walmart replied with, "Get back to me when you're as wealthy as Walmart, you peasant scum." New York City swore in its new mayor, Eric Adams, who replaced Bill de Blasio. When asked what changes will he make, he said none. Bill was doing a great job, harassing 5-year-olds, letting criminals go, firing police officers. I can't do much better than that. The new mayor of New York found that criminal organization called the police are present at crime scenes 100% of the time, but are only arrested 0.001% of the time. White privilege, says the mayor. New York Times reports that U.S. flights cancellations hit a record high due to Omicron. 2,400 flights were canceled because of heavy snow and bad weather throughout the country. Wait, what? Omicron, weather, Omicron. No word on how many cancellations from Omicron. What's that? My producer just cleared this up. The CDC announced the severe weather pattern is being named Omicron. Supreme Court Justice Roberts calls for independent and unbiased rulings. This after many suspect Justice Roberts is being blackmailed by members of Congress, causing him to rule in favor of those blackmailing him. Experts warn that Omicron will only get worse with strange symptoms of night sweats and sniffles. In other news, experts warn that Omicron will only get worse with strange symptoms of night sweats and sniffles. One poll finds that a third of Americans think violence against the government is needed to save democracy, leaving one Democrat to say the only way to save democracy without violence is to suspend all elections indefinitely. A recent poll shows Trump as a frontrunner for the 2024 election, leaving one Democrat to say, "We have to halt elections indefinitely to save democracy." Florida businessman was sentenced to 5 years in prison for his attendance in the January 6th Capitol protest, where he cheered on protesters and said swear words. During the sentencing, the judge said, "If you want to cuss and scream like that, then you need to go to Portland, Oregon. They even let you burn things down there." School adapts for return from break as Omicron cases surge. Mask mandates, wah, 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 the teacher said. Thousands of protesters took to the streets despite a law that forbids the practice in the Netherlands. When asked, one official said, "The United States needs to get rid of its free speech policies quickly. Their bad behavior of speaking freely is very dangerous to democracy." A big win for mainstream media this week when Twitter suspends Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's account for misinformation of the sniffles. CNN said, "Finally, Twitter figured out the meaning of free speech," as the host read the First Amendment aloud. Congress shall make no law that allows anyone to speak with the exception of CNN, ABC, CBS, and NBC. So that's all the news that's not fit to print. Share this with your friends on other social media sites. Click subscribe for the latest updates. Thanks for watching.